Pakistani Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi meets with US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo at the US State Department in Washington. Qureshi and Pompeo expected to discuss matters of bilateral interest and, most importantly, talks about fostering what many would call fraying ties between the US and Pakistan. US President Donald Trump has once again expressed his backing for US Supreme Court nominee Judge Brett Kavanaugh. Trump said Kavanaugh is a high-quality person and that he has never seen anything like this before. An FBI investigation has been launched into the sexual misconduct accusations Kavanaugh is facing. The investigation will determine the fate of Kavanaugh's appointment to a lifetime position at the US Supreme Court. Groups combating sexual abuse have urged Pope Francis to use his meetings with bishops from around the world to come up with a global solution to stop the abuse crisis and make the Catholic Church safe for children. The Pope is set to hold an opening mass today as hundreds of priests and observers arrive for the Synod of Bishops are gathering for daily meetings at the Vatican this month. The Spanish government has rejected any ultimatum from Catalonia on moving towards self-determination or Catalonian independence. The government says it will remain focused on having a wide range of dialogue with the restive region to resolve a succession crisis. Now, Catalan had threatened to withdraw parliamentary support from Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez if he did not agree within a month on a self-determination mechanism. However, the Spanish government has sent out a resounding message for Catalonians, saying self-government yes, but independence no. In a speech addressing more than 1,500 people in Birmingham, former Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson has called Theresa May's Chequers plan a cheat and an outrage. The 54-year-old politician said it would be politically humiliating for Britain to continue to follow EU regulations after Brexit. The Johnson speech was greeted with thunderous applause as he berated Prime Minister Theresa May's Brexit plan. Thousands in Belgium took to the streets to protest the government's current pension reform proposals, demanding decent retirement at a reasonable age. Brussels was brought to a standstill as 4,000 people joined the protest in the capital, known for having a generous system of retirement. Belgium has now joined fellow European countries in restricting early retirement and increasing the official retirement age. Unions across the country are demanding that the retirement age be kept at 65 and not increased to 67. Khan al-Ahmar's villagers in the embattled West Bank area are appealing to German Chancellor Angela Merkel for help. The embattled village, home to members of the Bedouin tribe, is slated for demolition by the Israelis, and its villagers are now hoping that the German Chancellor, who is due for talks with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, will help them. The UN and EU have in the past urged Israel not to demolish the village, citing serious impact on the community and prospects for peace. 13 people have killed and over 30 wounded after a suicide bomber blew himself up at an election rally in Afghanistan's eastern province of Nangarhar. Officials say that the death toll is likely to climb. The bomb went off inside the campaign office of a candidate for the October 28th parliamentary elections. Around 250 people were attending the rally. The Islamic State has claimed responsibility for the attack in a statement carried by its Amaq news agency. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres on his 3-day India visit says the Rohingya refugee crisis in Myanmar is an invitation to militant outfits. He said the crisis hands more power to militants by giving them soft targets, posing a challenge to the whole Asia-Pacific region. Guterres further urged both India and China to put sufficient pressure on Myanmar to provide a safer environment for Rohingyas. Thousands of farmers in India marched to the capital of New Delhi to protest and demand better prices for their produce. Reeling from a crash in commodity prices, more than 50,000 farmers from the northern state of Uttar Pradesh, which is a top producer of wheat and cane, blocked parts of the main highway to the capital. The protesters were met with brute police force as tear gas shells and water cannons were used to halt the farmers' march. The northeast Mexican state of Baja California declared a state of emergency before the landfall of tropical storm Rosa. The storm forced an evacuation of some 700 families in the state despite weakening from a hurricane to a tropical storm on Sunday. Rosa still packed strong wind gusts and has soaked the state with heavy rainfall. Around 40,000 residents are facing damage to properties and road closures due to potential flooding, and U.S. forecasters have said that the rain may cause life-threatening flash flooding. Canadian scientist Donna Strickland became the third woman to win a Nobel for Physics along with fellow scientists Arthur Ashkin and Gerard Mourou. The trio share the Nobel Prize for Physics for breakthrough in laser technology that have turned light beams into precision tools for everything from eye surgery to micro machining. The Physics Prize announcement came after the Medicine Prize was awarded for discoveries about the manipulation of the immune system to fight cancer. U.S. First Lady Melania Trump met with her Ghanaian counterpart for tea at Ghana's presidential palace in Accra and visited a children's hospital in the country in her first major solo visit as the U.S. First Lady. Melania Trump is on a multi-nation trip alone. Melania is set to visit Kenya, Malawi and Egypt this week. In her first official solo engagement since giving birth to her third child, Prince Louis, Britain's Duchess Kate visited an inner-city London wildlife garden. The Duchess was greeted by excited school children in the garden where she was delighted by crowds joining in on making crowns out of leaves. Farmers in northwest China are rejoicing a bountiful harvest this season. Farmers are embracing bumper harvest of various farm produces, including watermelon, rice and buckwheat. In North China's Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region, over 2,000 hectares of seedless watermelons have ripened, keeping up the trend of increasing seedless watermelon yield in the country since 2001. A London-based company might have come up with an ingenious solution to tackling plastic waste during marathons. The company has developed edible water spheres that resemble large bubbles. The spheres contain a jelly-like membrane made of plant and seaweed extracts, which makes it completely biodegradable. The water balls will now be handed over to runners at marathons instead of plastic bottles. Iconic international fashion brand Chanel recreated a beach in Paris's Grand Exhibition Center for its latest fashion show. The artificial yet exotic beach locale was created keeping meticulous details in mind, as the exhibition was transformed into a beach complete with waves lapping up at audiences' feet and sand dunes in the distance.